Shredding enemy comps in one spell, Miss Fortune has quietly become one of the best AP carries in the game. If you're looking for a stable, no-nonsense board, then this is the video for you. Let's get started. In the early game, you're looking to play Jinx with Anima Squad 3, Civilian 2, and a Mascot Splash. Jinx is fairly weak without a ton of mana, so you need Civilian 2 to get your casts off fast. Sivir also helps to carry the early game with her damage, and if you can't find her early, you can also play an early Shojin holder like Lux or Lulu and transfer the items to Jinx when you do. Your main board will be Anima Squad in the late game, but playing for your strongest board is the best thing you can do. So until you hit at least Anima 3, play around any Shojin carry you find. To get a solid win streak, you need Jinx 2-star, so in the early rounds, it's better to focus on taking good losses so you can get priority on the first carousel. In the mid game, you want to find Riven and Vayne ASAP for Anima Squad 5. Splashing in Defender and Mascot gives a solid boost to your frontline, but if you already have a great frontline item, you can swap Alistar for Zoe to keep Jinx safe with Prankster, and add more damage until you find Miss Fortune later. Jinx and Vayne 2-star carry the mid game pretty well, as long as you have a couple 2-star frontliners. You should be stable enough to save gold and maintain a solid amount of health. If the lobby is heavy AP, then swap out Rel for another Aegis unit like Vi, who also gives Brawler too. Now in the late game, despite holding on to Sylas and Nasus, this board is still super powerful. This is because Miss Fortune's spell has a huge hitbox, and she's an ace. On top of that, you can splash in several 5-cost units, allowing your board to keep scaling, while other boards have already capped out. If the lobby is heavy ability power, then consider throwing in more Aegis units. But if the lobby is heavy attack damage, you can swap out Vi and Leona for Set and Fiddlesticks. I prefer Urgot over Fiddlesticks because his Undertow ability often gives gold to let you keep rolling for units. And unless you get a ton of extra AP items, Fiddlesticks is somewhat weaker. From here, items, augments, and positioning will win you the game. So let's break that down. If you want to climb ranked and improve, then consider subscribing so you never miss out on the latest meta updates and comp guides like this one. For damage items, you want to go from Jinx or any Shojin holder to Miss Fortune. Her best item is Shojin because her mana bar is too big for blue buff to be effective. Next, Jeweled Gauntlet and Giant Slayer are the standard picks, but I really like Gunblade for the added healing. When playing with Jeweled Lotus, you can replace JG with Archangel Staff for high scaling damage. For tank items, it's really simple. I recommend slamming on Galio since he gets replaced pretty quickly. Then transfer items to Riven when you find her. You want to play Sunfire with Redemption and either Dragon's Claw or Bramble Vest. Now for extra items, they're almost more valuable than the tank items. One mandatory item is either Shiv on Vayne or Ionic Spark on a frontline. The Resistance Shred is what allows Miss Fortune to do so much damage to enemy frontlines. Locket provides great durability to all of your tanks. Amarellonomicon is really useful on AoE spell users like Nunu, Fiddle, or Urgot when you can't manage to build Sunfire. Now let's talk about augments. Anima Squad Crown is one of the best augments you can get. If you get this, drop Sylas, and if you get a second one, drop Nasus, and replace them with better units. Civilian Crown is really good to increase how often Jinx and Miss Fortune cast. Give this to a safe backline unit. High-end shopping is a solid take because you can play multiple 5-cost units. You can get Miss Fortune on level 7 and rush levels to get legendaries. Both Clear and Cluttered Mind are useful to rush a fast 8 and then level 9 to play for legendary units. Cluttered Mind is easier because you can hold units to star up, but Clear Mind lets you hit Econ Interest. With level up, it's the same as other fast 9 augments. You want to rush levels and play for legendaries. Exiles is one of my go-to augments to add survivability. This makes your board very tanky. Cybernetic Uplink is powerful when you have a ton of items. It's only important on Miss Fortune, so it's not a great take, but it's worth considering if you need mana and have no other options. Jeweled Lotus is broken in this comp, so you should always take it. Remember to replace your third item slot with Gunblade or Archangel Staff. Now let's talk about hero augments. While Urgot is better than Fiddlesticks, if you have Absolute Corruption, that completely changes. The insane value Miss Fortune gets from sharing Fiddle's souls puts this augment at broken tier. Now our next two choices are Miss Fortune's augments. Both are pretty S tier, but Make It Rain is much better. Her ult is already good enough, and Make It Rain gives you a ton of money so that you can push for levels and hit 2-star legendaries. Next we have Nunu. Both of Nunu's augments provide immense value. Contagious Laughter gives huge scaling, while They See Me Rolling turns into a perfect late game carry with minimal item investment. Urgot's Shiny is our first A tier choice. The econ is great to get you fast levels and 2-star legendaries, but Miss Fortune does the same thing and is more likely to be found, plus provides you with your main carry. Riven's Triumphant Return is our next A tier choice. Allowing your front line to become super tanky, you get a ton of value out of this. Just remember, you cannot play this with Exiles. Now for our two bottom tier choices, Nasus's Soul Eater and Silas's Petricate Chains are admittedly weak, but since most options on this list are high cost choices, I thought I should include some options that you're likely to find on 2-1. The value they give is half decent, but it's only good early and falls off really hard in the late game. Now for positioning, with any backline comp, your main issue is dodging clump spells and divers like Talon and Zed. To dodge divers, it's really simple. Talon chooses the furthest unit from the center, and the right corner is the furthest, so keeping MF to the left keeps you safe for a little while. To dodge Zed, however, you'll need to scout constantly. This is important because to avoid anti-clump spells like Urgot, Fiddlesticks, and Sejuani, you want MF on the opposite side just like Zed. If Zed is the only major threat, then it's actually okay to group super tightly so that Zed can never dive onto MF no matter how he positions. But that's a rare exception, since the Zed player will eventually get anti-clamp units in. Offensively, you have two things to look out for. One, always place Leona in front of the main enemy tank. She's a tank killer, plain and simple. Her spell burns down anyone she casts on, so if she's alive, she'll kill it. Secondly, MF always wants to be on the opposite side of the enemy backline. You want her spell cutting across the field, hitting as many units as you can. Since the spell will mostly hit frontline at first, building at least one tank shred item is super important. If this video helped you, then leave a like. It helps others find the video. Until next time, I'm Swagadelic.